Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So recently, I saw a photo that I really liked. It's hard to explain what draws you to a certain image, but I felt strongly for this one. It's a simple picture, just a red umbrella on a rainy day and a yellow cap. Here's the photo by the way. Since a couple of subscribers were asking where I get my inspiration from, I thought I'd share the process today. Sometimes an image will catch my eye and I try to recreate it with a similar feel but with a totally different concept. I like to add a personal touch to it and weave a storyline behind it. I'm a little bit of a storyteller. In my real job, quarterly reports are just another form of storytelling. We tell stories to justify our performances. If we made a bad decision, it's to rationalise our choice. Or if we made a stellar one, trust me, we draft out a whole essay on how we outperformed everyone and demand the praise and recognition we deserve. I used to love writing stories with a pen, but now I'm just trying to create stories on a canvas through a paintbrush. For this particular image, I found an old painting of mine that I wasn't too fond of, but decided to shamelessly upload it anyway. It was a disaster. I remember seeing how I butchered the Starbucks sign, and basically the time it took to complete it did not show on the final piece. But I like the concept of it. Ever so often, I infuse a hint of romance in my pieces. The red umbrella lovers were a common reoccurrence in my past pieces. I've kind of moved on to bouquet and roses, but this would be the perfect piece to bring them back again, and you'd be able to get a glimpse of my creative process from a reference picture. While painting this, the word that came to mind is serendipity, a chance coincidence. This is also the title of a pretty famous rom-com back in the early 2000s. However, this word isn't only associated with romance, but here's an interesting history behind it. Well, I thought it was interesting anyway, and I thought I'd share the etymology behind it. So the word serendipity was coined in 1754 by Horace Walpole. He drew it from an English variation of the Persian fairy tale called The Three Princes of Serendip, which was about three princes who always made discoveries that they were not looking for on their adventures. Serendip is the old Persian name for Sri Lanka, which was known as Ceylon in English from 1815 to 1948. It comes from the Arabic name Sarandip, which is in turn from Sanskrit Simhalad Vipa, meaning dwelling place of Lion's Island. Horace, or also known as Horatio Walpole, was an English historian, Whig Party politician, and 4th Earl of Orford, and he was also the son of the de facto first British Prime Minister. The Oxford English Dictionary credits Walpole for the invention and/or introduction of more than 200 English words, including souvenir, malaria, beefy, and once. He produced so much written work, including political and historical books and commentary, letters, novels, and more, that the house he commissioned for himself, Strawberry Hill, had its own printing press called the Strawberry Hill Press to support his writing habits. The word serendipity first appeared in a letter he wrote to his distant relative in January 1754. As mentioned earlier, Walpole pulled the word from the fairy tale, The Three Princes of Serendip. The English version of the story was translated into Venetian version by Michele Tramezzino, called Peregrinaggio di Tre Giovani Figlioli del Re di Serendipito, pardon my pronunciation, which translates to The Pilgrimage, Travels, Adventures of the Three Young Sons of the King Serendipio. Tramezzino evidently heard the story from the Middle Eastern Italian translator Cristoforo Armino, who had first translated it into Italian from the 1302 Persian poem, The Eight Paradises, behished by Amir Khusro, a Sufi musician, poet, mystic, and scholar whose work was particularly iconic on the Indian subcontinent in the 13th to 15th centuries. The fairy tale is rather silly in tone, as the princes were always making discoveries by accidents and sagacity of things they were not in quest of. Voltaire also adapted the story in his 1747 novella Zadig, or the Book of Fate, which would come to influence modern detective fiction and elements of the scientific method. In one adventure, the princes, who have been sent out to learn an adventure by their father, attempt to find a lost camel for a merchant. While searching for it, they run into the merchant again and tell him that they have determined that the camel is lame, blind in one eye, missing a tooth, carrying a pregnant woman, and bearing honey on one side and butter on the other. Thinking they've seen it, the merchant thinks they've stolen it and takes them to the emperor for judgment. When the emperor asks them how they know so much detail about it, they explain the clues that they found. Grass had been eaten from the side of the road where it was less green, so the prince has inferred that the camel was blind on the other side. Because there were lumps of chewed grass on the road that were the size of a camel's tooth, they inferred that they had fallen through the gap left by a missing tooth. The tracks showed the prints of only 3 feet, the fourth being dragged, indicating that the animal was lame. That butter was carried on one side of the camel and honey on the other side was evident because ants had been attracted to melted butter on one side of the road and flies to spilled honey on the other. As for the woman, one of the princes said, "I guessed that the camel must have carried a woman because I had noticed that near the tracks where the animal had knelt down, the imprint of a foot was visible. Because some urine was nearby, he wet his fingers and as a reaction to its odor, he felt a sort of a carnal concupiscence which convinced him that the imprint was of a woman's foot. I guessed that the said woman must have been pregnant," said another prince, "because I had noticed nearby handprints which were indicative that the woman being pregnant had helped herself up with her hands while urinating." Impressed by their cleverness, the emperor makes them as advisors and showers them with riches. So there you go. This is how the word serendipity was born. Back to the painting. This piece took a lot longer than I expected, but I love how it turned out. It's definitely a redemption from the original painting that I did a year ago. The brick road took the longest because I had to etch each brick individually to create this checkered effect that you see. I like that it's a little bit moody and there's a lot of room for interpretation up to the viewer's imagination. Is this a meeting? Is this a passing? Or is this unending? Anyway, I hope you like this painting. Hence, without further ado, let's begin.
I put something on TV, so we never think about you and me. But today I see our reflections clearly in Hollywood, laying on the screen. You just need a better life than this. You need something I can never give. Fake water all across the road. It's gone now, the night is come. But sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. He waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. He waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. He waves been faking me